What does Luce, the Vatican enemy Jubilee mascot, and the Dragon Girl have in common? Both are created by the same person.
I will defend that aspect of it, even though you're not supposed to wear a rosary as a necklace. At first, I was like, yeah, it does look like a stang. But the more I looked at it, the archbishop behind this thing said that it was to get the church into the pop culture that the youth are so connected to. The archbishop who was promoting this kind of knew it too. So you look at his body language in that press conference, he looked almost kind of embarrassed to have this weird little anime statue thing. He's like publicly signaling their covert Satan worship.
By the way, my name is Joe McClane. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below.
I don't know if you saw the anime character mascot that the Vatican paid good money, good hard-earned money to make. They paid a guy who happens to also create pornography images. Like that, just let that sink in for a second. This is of all the people on planet Earth we could have chosen to make an anime version of a mascot for the Jubilee year, we chose somebody who makes art for porn. Here to talk about that is Dr. Anthony Stine from Return to Tradition. Dr. Stine, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Oh, you forgot that he also makes Pride Week or Pride Month propaganda too.
Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. What was I thinking? I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, good grief.
I actually think they saw. There's that cynical part of me that thinks they saw the Pride Week stuff on his in his portfolio, his artist portfolio, and was like, "Oh, there's our guy. There's our guy." It's very interesting to see the commentary coming out about Luce. I didn't bite on it right away. I mean, just my initial reaction looking at it is, okay, great, it's silly. Like, it's silly. It's made for kids. This doesn't seem serious to me. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is another one of those. And I think this is the point that you made on your video and your YouTube video we're going to link to in our show notes. It's just tone deaf. It's another shining example of tone deafness coming out of the Vatican. Mm-hmm. They seem to have no real concept of how things are perceived by the general public. And it blows my mind. Now, I want to point out that J.D. Flynn over at The Pillar, he doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down in his piece. We're going to link to it as well. I like Luce, he says. He likes Luce, and he wants us to chill out. What in the world could actually be the problem with this, Dr. Stine? I think it was Professor Ed Feser. I don't know how you pronounce his name. He on X pointed out that the fundamental problem here is that there's a difference between being childlike, as the Bible commands us, and being childish. Which, by the way, in case people don't know this, being childish as an adult is actually explicitly condemned in St. Paul's letters. If you ever go read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, the famous, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things.
Yeah.
That image is childish. It is.
It is.
I had a comment from one of my viewers said that they showed the image to their kids, and their kids thought it was lame. Their words was that their children thought the thing was just bad.
That's funny.
It was mostly the people coming to the defense of this thing are the young, very online anime fans, who are usually young men. Now, the church, it can be argued, has a young man problem, and so they need to reach out to the young men. Fine, but you can do so without resorting to childish things. At first on Twitter, I was like, oh, I don't know, because people are pointing out some questionable parts of the image that might be demonic or whatever. The thing is childish, made by someone who promotes degeneracy, absolute moral depravity. Why they hired the guy is just another, in a church right now where we have a problem with Rupnik and Principi and these others being protected, hiring a degenerate to make art is not that surprising. To put it in the bluntest terms possible.
When I first saw it, again, I thought it was childish. I also thought it was maybe like I didn't read the story when I first saw it and started to make the waves online. And I thought, well, maybe there's a cartoon. Maybe this is a cartoon that they're helping, to promote or something. Maybe they've helped to commission a cartoon that will reach little kids. I mean, fine, fair enough. We're gonna create content for children. I don't have issues with that. I mean, I think there's some good content on formed.org, for instance. It's very good for kids. So and then I heard, wait, hold on, they mean this for adults? Like, that's just bizarre. For instance, I can be very critical of adults that play video games. I just don't think that's sober and serious. I don't think adults should be doing certain things like this. And so to try to appeal to adults, even young adults, with childish characters, to your point a minute ago, it doesn't seem sober. It doesn't seem serious. It seems surface at best. There's no depth to this. If we're really going to be asked to go on a pilgrimage, a journey in the Jubilee year, a spiritual pilgrimage to dive deeper into our faith and to our understanding of what the Catholic Church teaches and how that applies to our life and our surroundings, is this their best bet to get us there? This seems surface at best, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's extremely shallow, and that's kind of it's one of the problems. It's the reaction you saw to it from people who were just tripping over themselves to defend it was that the church has endorsed my shallow thing that at some point I might just lose my taste for and walk away. People's taste in pop culture things tend to diminish over time or change as you get older. So but people were so clinging to it that it was the strangest thing ever. And the pop culture thing is kind of another problem with this. The archbishop behind this thing said that it was to get the church into the pop culture that the youth are so connected to. I'm like, newsflash, since the beginning of the 20th century, at least, young people have really been into pop culture. It's just a product of modernity, is popular culture. But usually the church would say, if you're going to be connected to pop culture in some way, maybe you should keep it at least at an arm's length a little bit, be discerning on what you're consuming, some warnings that go with it, because pop culture can sometimes be neutral, but sometimes, all too often, pop culture is not neutral. We see this in how the church warned about the use of Hollywood films in previous generations. Yeah. And priests sometimes warning people, maybe specific genres of music aren't a problem, but you tend to notice that in some genres of music, you get a lot more bad, say, music than others. Now it's, the kids like this thing. Hello, fellow kids, here's your anime. Which seems to be kind of a problem.
It makes you wonder, do they really think that if we create some anime cartoon character, people are going to all of a sudden go, oh, wow, I love the Catholic faith, I should start living it? I mean, is that really what's going to get it done? I mean, if that's true, then why didn't we do this sooner? It seems crazy to me. The world doesn't seem to be getting more Catholic. It seems to be going in the opposite direction. But maybe this will solve the problem. Now, I do want to point out some of the elements. For those listening if you're listening on radio right now, if you've not seen the picture, I'll link to all these articles for you, but let me just describe to you. This is a short anime type style character. I'm not into anime, so I don't know what the verbiage is for this, but it's a small body with a big head, wearing a yellow rain jacket, blue hair with seashells in the eyes to represent the pilgrimage aspect, a rosary hanging around the neck with colored beads. Some have seen that as the color of the rainbow, others not so much.
And it's not the rainbow. They're the wrong colors of the rainbow. It's actually the missionary rosary. It comes from Fulton Sheen. I will defend that aspect of it, even though you're not supposed to wear a rosary as a necklace.
Right. There's that. Okay. So then there's the logo on the rain jacket for what is it? The Synod and Synodality, which is very interesting. And then there's the staff that some are saying looks very occultish like. And then there's the green boots that have mud on them. Obviously, this is a person who is walking through the mud and on a pilgrimage and on a journey. So none of the elements, I think, in and of themselves are that problematic, save maybe the staff. But I think I take your take on that, Dr. Stine. I'm not looking too far into that. How about you?
At first, I was like, yeah, it does look like a stang. But the more I looked at it, I was like, I don't think, covert Satan worshipers in the Vatican, if such people exist, are going to be doing things like publicly signaling their covert Satan worship. That would sort of be self-defeating.
How many times have we gone on a hike and just picked up a stick off the side because it looked cool? I don't have an issue with the stick, I think.
There's the old joke that one of the things that men like is they find a cool stick and then they just kind of, gravitate towards it, right? It goes back to our childhood.
Right.
But I will point out one thing about this, that the response to it, I got called a heretic and a traitor online by the defenders of this thing by saying that I didn't like it. There's something disordered.
You're required to, under pain of excommunication,
to like the kitschy marketing gimmick of the Vatican that looks like the "Hello, fellow kids" meme for the 21st century. That's what it really looks like. That old "Hello, fellow kids, how do you do?" It's got Steve. You've seen that meme, right? Steve Buscemi with the rock band T-shirt on, and he's got a backwards hat on. He's got a skateboard in his hand. He's like 60 years old. Hello, fellow kids. That's what this looks like. It really does.
It's creepy. And think about the optics of that. The church. I mean, I just read a news article that Cardinal O'Malley is, commissioned to investigate the church and her procedures for handling abuse cases. The church has paid out billions with a B, billions of dollars of donated money from the lay faithful to settle abuse cases they focus mostly on minors while ignoring the abuse of seminarians and adult males for some odd reason. I don't know why they do that, but they do. Nonetheless, billions with the B they've paid out to abuse cases. And it's like the creepy guy, pulling up with the candy. Hey, kid, you want some candy? Like the optics of this alone are not good. Again, going back to that tone deafness coming out of the Vatican. If they're really interested in reaching the young people, might they get like a Orthodox young person at the Vatican who understands maybe some of these optics and help them navigate them? Because they seem like every time they try something, it just seems to fall on its face.
Yeah, and that's something I pointed out in my live stream on this yesterday, where we have the Principi case right now. You've got the Rupnik stuff going on. I encountered people online pushing back saying, oh, well, the sex abuse stuff, the clerical sex abuse story is ancient history now. That was 20 years ago. I'm like, that's still going on. It's still happening. That's why Francis feels like he has to, as Pope, step forward and say, oh, hey, by the way, we're taking this seriously constantly, because there are still reports of this stuff happening all the time. And it does look tone deaf. Now, is the problem the same as it was 20 years ago? No, it's not. It seems that the bishops are the most permissive about their priests having certain kinds of things in their backgrounds, have tightened things up at least enough that it's better, it's improved, but the problem is still there. It is still there. And this does look incredibly tone deaf. And I almost felt like the Archbishop who was promoting this kind of knew it too. So you look at his body language in that press conference, he looked almost kind of embarrassed to have this weird little anime statue thing on his desk.
Right. He probably did. I feel bad for the guy. Like, he's like, how did I get this job? How am I the guy that has to be up here to show you this doll? I mean, it just feels absolutely silly. And I don't know what else to say about it besides that. We need sober and serious responses to the difficulties and tragedies in this world that's getting darker by the day. And this is our effort. And what's worse is we're paying a guy who makes porn art to create this for us. Now, listen, I'm a sinner. I go to confession very regularly, so I understand that we're not perfect. But this guy's not repentant. He's not contrite over his efforts to corrupt souls through his participation, his direct participation in pornography. I'm sure he's very proud of it. Made him a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Why are we giving him money? We have choices, people, and this shouldn't have been one, but it is. And I guess it just chalk it up next to the Rocket Man biopic. Just bad use of donor dollars.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.